Take 2. What would you do if you lived in Nazi Germany and knew what the government stood for, but speaking out could cost your life? Would you stay silent or would you dare to resist? Most people chose survival. Sophie Scholl did not.
Choose survival?
Can't say. You'll find out.
Okay.
As a young university student, Sophie openly opposed the Nazi regime through her involvement in the White Rose resistance movement, using words and ideas as weapons against oppression. Her story forces us to confront an uncomfortable question. When faced with injustice, how much courage are we truly willing to show?
Intro. Sophia Magdalena Scholl was born on May 9th, 1921, to Magdalena and Robert Scholl. Wow, she was just like your mom for real, naming her kid after herself.
Well, I mean, that's her middle name, so that's more common.
But Sophia's? Is it Sophie or Sophia's?
I think she goes by Sophie, but her, name is technically Sophia.
I gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. So Sophie's dad was a liberal politician and an ardent Nazi critic, who was also the mayor of her hometown, that I can't pronounce, Forchenberg am Tschur, at the time of her birth. Sophie and her 5 other siblings, Sophie being the 4th of the 6th, was brought up in the Lutheran church and started school when she was 7. She didn't have any particularly notable childhood, but in 1930, the family moved to Ludwigsburg. You know, that didn't look hard to pronounce, and then I tried to pronounce it, and then it didn't go well.
Yeah.
But they moved there, and then later to Ulm. That one's easy to pronounce, but just sounds a little goofy.
Mm-hmm.
My apologies to the Germans. They are in Germany, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. But Sophie's dad owned a business consulting office. In 1932, Sophie attended a secondary school for girls, and at the age of 12, she joined the female branch of the Hitler Youth, as did most of her classmates. It wasn't a choice. You just had to.
Yeah. However, she was initially really enthusiastic about it, but that did quickly fade as she became more critical and aware.
Actual thoughts.
Yeah. So she was aware that many of her friends, teachers, and even her father had political views that opposed Hitler. Her brother, who was once also heavily absorbed in the Hitler Youth program, also began to kind of shift his views and opinions towards the Nazi Party. Political positions during this time played a very large role in who you were not friends with, which makes sense, but it's also kind of crazy.
I feel like that's pretty common now, no?
Right, but I feel like this is more extreme because everything was more extreme.
Well, low-key, now, people will, base their friends off of, well, if you're a Republican, I'm not gonna be friends with you, or if, you're a liberal, I'm
that's
not gonna
true,
be friends with you.
Because at this time, I don't think they were killing anyone yet.
Yeah. But also, I have heard a lot of people, relate our current society similar to, right around when Hitler started to... Because I remember, when I was little, your political party was not really, it didn't matter.
It's more important now, for sure.
Even kids in, middle school are I'm gonna be friends with you because you believe this, or because your parents believe this, or I'm not gonna be friends with you for that reason.
Right. Which, to a degree, if you're, really political... Yeah, you really gotta source that out. But, so, yes, of course. In 1937, her brother and his friends were arrested in 1937 for participating in the German Youth Movement, which was an activist group, despite the name, that protested against the industrialization and the repressive authoritarian German society during this time. Cat noises. Okay.
Interesting. So, Sophie was an avid reader who developed an interest in philosophy and theology. She loved to draw and paint, and all of her siblings also had an interest in art and became friends with many artists at the time, especially controversial ones who stood against National Socialism and explored such themes in their work. There seems to be a lot of art involvement with Hitler and the Holocaust.
Yes.
If only they would have let Hitler into art school.
I know. Ugh.
Anyways.
I feel like he still would have done some whack stuff.
Probably. But there was one artist, Otto Eicher? But he helped Sophie to learn how to sketch, and then later married her sister Inge. Sophie's first arrest was right around the corner at the young age of 16. and she was arrested by the Gestapo. I thought the Gestapo was fake.
What?
I did not realize the Gestapo was a real thing. I also thought it was Italian.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there might be like an Italian version, but this is the Nazi version.
Right. I just, like, I knew the KGB was a thing, and, like...
Yeah. Yeah.
But I definitely thought the Gestapo was, like, an Italian mafia gang thing. I don't know, I feel like that was never really discussed in my history classes.
Yeah, not really.
But Sophie was arrested by the Gestapo, after her brother Hans was discovered. Pardon.
Pardon?
I've been watching a lot of Bridgerton.
Yeah.
But, Sophie's brother was discovered to be active in an anti-Hitler youth group called Deutsche Jungenschaft. Jungenschaft? Anyways, the Gestapo arrested him at a military post, and other security agents arrested his siblings, Inge, Werner, and Sophie, and their home. That's crazy, though, that, like, your brother is, like, related to an anti-Nazi thing, and then your whole family gets arrested.
Right. I guess that's how they wanted to stop people from speaking out.
Yeah.
And it kind of worked, but, like, that's so bad. So bad.
I promise I'm not sick.
Okay.
I feel like Emma would not believe me.
I'm really scared.
I promise it's just the dry air. I promise.
Okay. We'll update in 2 weeks if I get sick.
You haven't gotten sick yet.
I'm taking a lot of vitamins.
Oh my god.
I'm scared. Not just of you, of everyone, honestly. Mostly. Won't say in case they watch this video. So Sophie was released the same day, although Werner and Inge spent a whole week in jail, and Hans spent 3 weeks in jail along with interrogation. And you know what interrogation means.
Torture.
Yeah. So he was only released when his cavalry officer vouched for him and was like, wait, no, he's like a good dude, it's okay, like he was just joking, like he didn't mean it. Don't know how that worked, but it worked. So obviously at this point Sophie was like pretty anti-Nazi. She was like, okay, that's crazy. Any sympathies that she once had were very far gone. She did not like them anymore. In spring of 1940, she graduated from secondary school. Sophie did almost not graduate, as she really didn't care for the classes that were basically just Nazi indoctrination at this point. It's like not math, it's like Hitler's math.
Right.
She became a kindergarten teacher at the Grobel Institute in Ulm. She chose the job in the hope that it would be seen as an alternative service in the National Labor Service, which was a prereq for admission to university. But unfortunately, they did not care to see it as such. They were like, teacher, whatever, not the same as service. So in the spring of 1941, she became a 6-month real service, in their eyes, in the Auxiliary War Service as a nursery school teacher in Blumberg. I was really tweaking writing this. Anyway, sorry for all the services. There will be more. This experience caused her to rethink her understanding of the political situation, and she began practicing passive resistance.
Your fridge is making lots of weird noises.
Yeah, it's like my tummy.
Oh.
During lunch today.
Oh.
I was hungry.
So after her 6 months, she enrolled in the University of Munich in May of 1942 as a student of biology and philosophy. Her brother Hans, who was studying medicine at the same place, introduced her to all of his friends. I always find that interesting when, like, well, I guess you've done this with your brother, like, your brother hangs out with your friends, but I always find it, like, interesting when, like, siblings actually, like, hang out with each other, like, outside of, like, their family.
Some siblings are so close and others are just, like, sort of.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like having a brother is very different than having a sister, though.
Yeah. Well, you are the sister.
No, but, like, being a girl who has a sister versus a girl who has a brother.
I see. If you can't tell, I'm an only child. Having siblings is just a strange concept to me.
Text Ethan, like, a whole paragraph, and he responds in, like, 2 words, and I'm like, okay, I'll talk to you next week, then. Like, not that having a sister, I imagine you, like, talk every day and steal each other's clothes and shit, but you probably hate each other. But maybe not. Yeah. I have no idea.
But Hans and Sophie seemed like they were close.
Oh, yeah, they were fine.
But later on, this group was actually recognized because of their political views. But originally, they came together because they were just, like, friends and that they liked art and music, literature, philosophy, and theology. This little group liked to hike, ski, swim, and went to concerts. They went to plays, they went to lectures. They were just a group of friends that were hanging out. And then later on, they were like, screw Hitler.
This kind of makes me sad because, like obviously we can kind of infer that their lives didn't go very well because of their, like, efforts in resistance. But it's sad because they could have just been friends and grew up and had families and shit, and then Hitler.
And then they didn't.
Yeah.
But while they were at Munich, well, I guess while Sophie was at Munich, she met a lot of artists and writers, and they questioned how an individual should act under a dictatorship. Sounds familiar.
Yeah, honestly, this was, like, really interesting to write about because
there's so many things that are so similar to what we are experiencing in the United States in 2026. But in the summer of 1942, Sophie had to do more war service in a metalworking plant in Ulm, while her father was serving a prison sentence for making a critical remark about Hitler to one of his employees. I'm imagining, like, bro, like, says, like, her dad says something, and then the employee goes and, like, tells on him, and then he, like, gets, like, imprisoned for the rest of his life just for that, which is so dumb.
I don't think he was imprisoned for the rest of his life, but it was quite a minute.
Right.
I haven't looked into that since, but that's so crazy. Like, your own employee, like, you hired that man, and that man just ratted you out, and now you're in jail. Like, I'm getting out and firing you. So now we must introduce an activist group called the White Rose. Dun dun dun. Between 1940 and 1941, Hans met two Roman Catholic men. Hans. I said Hans. Hans. Sorry, that's not funny. He met two Roman Catholic men who gave him some stuff to think about.
Some stuff? Some stuff? Okay.
Pretty much inspiring him to pursue religion and philosophy and the arts rather than medicine.
Oh, that's a wild turnaround.
Yes, but it's mostly because of, like, the way society is at this time because of the dictatorship and So I think in terms of philosophy, it's like, maybe we should have rights.
Yeah. Also, I know that medicine in Germany during Hitler's time was, like, very controversial.
Yeah.
And, like, medicine was more just experimentation on humans.
Yeah, so that was probably really depressing, and this probably was, like, a better way to actually do something in his mind, I would assume. But so with his new like-minded friends, Alexander Schmorl, Willy Graf, and Jürgen Wittgenstein, which are the friends that he introduced to Sophie, he adopted a strategy of passive resistance towards the Nazis by writing and publishing leaflets that called for the overthrow of National Socialism. Hello, Lau. Oh my god, cat break. Oh, never mind. He ran away. Yes, so the anonymous authors called themselves the White Rose. The activities of the White Rose began in June 1942, and Hans and Alexander had written the first 4 leaflets. They quoted from the Bible, iconic poets of the German bourgeoisie. They appealed by what they considered the German intellects, or they appealed to the German intellects, or people who they thought that would be like, yeah, screw Hitler. But they thought that these people would be convinced by the same arguments that had motivated themselves. Because they were like, okay, I'm smart, you're smart, this is what convinced me.
Right.
This should convince you too.
Right, which I feel like is what we, like, again, bringing it back to the United States in this day and age, like, we have so much science and, like
the measles.
Factual, yes, the measles.
The measles.
Oh my god. Guess Greenville, Clemson. We went to Clemson, and Clemson got measles. I mean, we weren't there. We weren't there when Clemson got measles, but that's embarrassing for us. What do you mean our alma mater got measles?
Right, like.
But like,
I don't believe the vaccine.
We work in healthcare, and we have to, like, part of our jobs is asking people if they've gotten specific vaccines, and the amount of people that are like, no, I don't believe in vaccines.
We're like, nah, girl, that's the FBI after me. I'm not doing that.
I literally remember there was a patient that was like, I was like, oh, like, have you gotten the flu vaccine recently? She was like, no, why would I want to get the flu? What? But, like,
they're gonna put a chip in my brain, man.
In our heads, we're like, okay, this is logic, this is science, this makes sense.
Right.
And so, if everybody was educated, how would they not also come to this conclusion? Which I guess is like the whole point, low-key, what Hitler also thought, because he was like, oh, if I just like keep people uneducated and I just tell them what to think, that like...
Right. It kind of baffles me how some educated people believe this, though.
Yes, yeah,
because,
this is
like,
true.
This is science. It's supposed to be fact, not, oh, I think I will believe this or not believe this. Like, that is not how that works.
Like, I understand, like, scientific discourse and being like...
It's like saying, I don't believe 2 + 2 = 4.
Right. Like, things that are proven to be fact, believe it. Why would you not believe the things that are proven to be fact? If there are things where it's like, hey, like, this might work, this might not work, like, there was an article that they were like, oh, they canceled Down syndrome. Like, they basically got rid of it. If you just flat out say that statement, that's not entirely true. So, like, yes, you can argue that that's not necessarily true, but there is a way. But if, like you're saying, if someone's like, the flu doesn't exist. Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Right. Like, maybe we could have eradicated measles a little bit better if we continued to get vaccinated, though.
Anyways,
it almost didn't exist.
But...
Almost.
I feel like we're gonna, like, lose our, like, polio status soon.
Oh, probably.
Like, oh my goodness. I don't know. Anyways, what they were trying to do was, like, these people are smart, we're smart, we should understand each other. And that is very similar to what a lot of people are doing nowadays, except for somehow, even with intellectualism, we're going backwards. Sorry, that was a rant. Anyways, so Hans and Sophie and all their friends were leaving their leaflets in phone booths and public places and mailed them to professors and students, aka email blast. And they were taken to couriers. They were taken by couriers to other universities for distribution. They were getting the word out everywhere. And it's believed that Sophie first learned of the White Rose in July of 1942. So I guess, like, Hans and his friends did his thing, and we're like, we don't want to, like, risk her safety, and then later brought her in.
Yeah, I think after her metalworking service.
Right, her metallurgy. But Sophie ended up becoming a very valuable member of the group. And since she was a woman, she was less likely to be stopped by, is the SS the Secret Service?
I honestly forget. I think so.
The Nazi Secret Service?
Yeah. But was it called the Secret Service, or did it have, like, a fancy German
The Gestapo?
name? Oh, no, they're the Gestapo. This is, like, the SS.
But I guess they were, like, randomly being security checked, much how, like, ICE is going door to door. Sorry, this is gonna be a really
Here, I'm look up
polarized.
the SS while you rant.
This is gonna be a really polarizing episode today that everyone is totally gonna watch. The SS, German people.
Yeah, see, it has a name.
Schutzstaffel. The Protection Squadron. Heinrich Himmler. I know that name.
Yeah, so paramilitary organization evolving from Hitler's personal guards to a vast terror machine responsible for the Holocaust, concentration camps, and executing Nazi ideology. Terrible.
Yeah. So, because Sophie was a woman, she was less likely to be stopped by them. And so they were able to continue their work diligently. On February 18th, 1943, Sophie and Hans went to Ludwig Maximilian University to leave flyers out for students to read. They brought a whole suitcase full of leaflets to the main building and dropped stacks of copies in the hallways for students to find after their lecture. They're just like,
Yeah, literally.
find them. Okay. Wasteful.
Well, if the students saw them and the students were pro-Nazi...
Fair enough. It's just, like, in my mind, it just feels a little goofy, because, like, it's reminding me...
This is all they have!
I know, but it's reminding me of, like, High School Musical when they just, like, throw all their papers in the air.
But this was real!
I know! I'm so sorry to Sophie and Hans. I 100% respect your commitment to anti-Nazism. It's been a long day.
Yeah, I mean, this last part, she literally did what you were saying.
Oh, splendid. Yeah, she yoinks them down from the top floor of the atrium. And they had, like, a couple of them they handed out, but they mostly were just like,
yeah, they were trying to disperse as much as possible before the lectures came out. So unfortunately, though, when she kind of went like wee and threw all the extra pamphlets, like down onto like the next level or whatever, this maintenance man named Jacob Smith watched this happen, and he was a self-avowed Nazi who joined the Nazi Party in 1939. He was like, Hitler's my man. I love him more than God. Poo-poo like that because he, I'm like 99% sure he reported them. And Hans and Sophie were taken into custody by the Gestapo, like while they were pretty much still in the university. From my understanding, they found a draft of the 7th pamphlet written by Christoph Probst in Hans' possession as they arrested him. Sophie was able to hide incriminating evidence in an empty classroom before they captured her, but Hans tried to tear apart the 7th pamphlet and, like, eat it so that they couldn't get it, but the Gestapo recovered enough of it to read it. And when pressed, aka interrogated, aka tortured, Hans gave up the author of the paper. This line from his second interrogation was recorded. The piece of paper that I tore up following my arrest this morning originated with Christoph Probst. All other persons, with the exception of Probst, in my opinion, are not guilty. They captured Christoph Probst on the 20th of February in 1943.
So the main Gestapo interrogator was Robert Moore, and he initially thought that Sophie was innocent. However, after Hans confessed, Sophie took full responsibility in an attempt to protect the other members of the White Rose. In court on the 22nd of February 1943, Sophie is recorded saying this: "Somebody, after all, had to make a start. What we wrote and said is also believed by many others. They just don't express themselves as we did." And this was their only defense. And they were not allowed any witnesses. So, 22nd February 1943, Sophie, Hans, and Christoph Probst were all found guilty of treason and sentenced to death. They were beheaded by guillotine in Munich's Stadelheim prison. Sophie was executed at 5 p.m., Hans at 5:02, Christoph at 5:05. The prison officials were apparently impressed by their bravery and let them smoke cigarettes together before they were executed. But, like, what if you just didn't execute them? You were like, oh my god, you're so brave. You're also, like, 20.
She was 21.
Exactly.
Yeah, like, that's crazy to me. That's so crazy.
Yeah.
But, so, Sophie's last known words are kind of argued over, although her cellmate, during her pre-trial custody, remembers her saying this: "How can we expect the righteousness to prevail when there is hardly anyone willing to give himself up individually for a righteous cause? It is such a splendid sunny day, but I have to go. But how many have to die on the battlefield in these days? How many young, promising lives? What does my death matter if by our acts thousands are warned and alerted? Among the student body, there will certainly be a revolt." After Sophie's death, a copy of the 6th leaflet was smuggled out of Germany through Scandinavia to England by the German jurist Helmuth James Graf von Moltke. Pretty much, it sounds like that. Anyway, so this pamphlet was used by the Allied forces. Allied. Excuse me.
So, in the mid-1943s, in the middle of 1943?
In mid-1943. The middle of 1943.
Okay.
Not the 43. Just 143.
It's been a long day. But the Royal Air Force dropped millions of copies of their pamphlet, retitled The Manifesto of the Students of Munich, over Germany as propaganda. The playwright Lillian Garrett Groag said in...
I'm sorry, my dates were in, like, work format.
Anyways, she said on February 22nd, 1993...
Yes, she's, like, looking at the past.
Oh, okay. But her quote is that, "It is possible the most spectacular moment of resistance that I can think of in the 20th century. The fact that 5 little kids in the mouth of the wolf, where it was really counted, had tremendous courage to do what they did is spectacular to me. I know the world is better for having them been there, but I do not know why."
I looked at this for a minute. I was like, is she being like, why did they do it? Or like, I think she was saying like, I don't know like why they had the courage to do it.
I see. Gotcha. But the Holocaust historian Judd Newborn noted, quote, "You cannot really measure the effect of this kind of resistance in whether or not X number of bridges were blown up or a regime fell. The white rose really has a more symbolic value, but that's a very important value.
On the 22nd of February in 2003,
All of this is happening on the 22nd of February.
it's because it's like the anniversary, because...
Right, yes.
Yes. And all these people, I think, are paying, like, tribute to her, trying to, like,
I see.
bring her to people's knowledge.
I see.
A bust on the 22nd of February, which is, by the way, a sculpture, but it's, like, just the head. I low-key did not know what a bust was.
I remember being in, like, high school and, like, hearing about a bust, and I was like, what is a bust?
Right. I don't know why they named it why would you name it that?
It's strange. I don't know.
Is it, like, Latin or something? I don't know. But they made a sculpture of basically, like, shoulder, head, whatnot, and it was placed by the government of Bavaria in the Walhalla Temple. She was the 5th woman to receive that honor. The Sophie Scholl Institute of Political Science at the University of Munich is named in honor of Sophie and Hans Scholl. Many schools and streets and squares in Germany and Austria have been named after Sophie and her brother. On the 9th of May in 2014, Google depicted Sophie for one of its little, like, Google Doodles on the day that would have been her 93rd birthday. The German Ministry of Finance issued a commemorative sterling silver 20-pound coin for her 100th birthday and a commemorative stamp in May of 2021.
There have since been many films, plays, books, music, and even an Instagram project in her name and the purpose of the Scholls and the White Rose. After their death, there was not an uprising. Instead, there was not an uprising?
No.
Interesting.
Oh, this is crazy.
Okay, so apparently I have to keep reading. Thousands of students rallied to scream their outrage at the traitors.
Wow. I guess they were like, if I side with them, they're gonna kill me and my family.
I mean, fair enough. But although Sophie and Hans Scholl did not immediately spark an uprising that they had hoped for, their actions endured far beyond their deaths. In the face of a brutal dictatorship, they chose moral courage over silence, knowing the cost and accepting it anyway. The White Rose may not have dismantled the Nazi regime, but its legacy lies in its symbolism, proof that individual conscience can survive even in the most oppressive systems. Sophie Scholl's life and death continue to represent the power of nonviolent resistance and the responsibility to speak out against injustice, reminding future generations that even small acts of defiance can echo through history.
It's so-key crazy, though.
And I think it's really important and super relevant to today. Like, like with all of, like, the Palestinian, like, Free Palestine movements, I remember, like, we live in South Carolina, so, like, the AME, like, 9, yeah, the church shooting that happened 2016? It was a while ago at this point. But, like, students, people in colleges and high schools, like, they were the ones organizing walkouts. They were the ones organizing protests. And, like, there's so many times where people older than us think that, oh, like, they're just being students, like, they're just being rebellious or whatever. But it's been proven, like, over and over again that a lot of times when students start to speak out against injustice, change actually happens.
Right.